So a few weeks ago, my EP Cube system that I've been running now for a couple years, the inverter on it ended up going into a failure mode, and a couple of the charge controllers here on the inside ended up going bad, and it couldn't utilize any power from the solar panels. So I troubleshot the problem and called up customer service. They ended up sending me a new inverter, and we're going to be replacing that today. But before I do, I just want to go over the problem, and I want to go through how I troubleshot it to get to the point where I knew it was the inverter and not my solar panels. So this inverter has 4 charge controllers on it, and there's 2 disconnects here. So charge controller 1 and 2 is on one of the disconnects, and charge controllers 3 and 4 are on the other disconnects. Now the error I was getting is I was getting an arc fault detection, and anytime you have rooftop solar, you have to have arc fault detection because it detects if there is a loose connection and it's like sizzling, or arcing, and that produces heat, which could in turn turn into a fire. And that's why it's required when you have solar panels on like a building or structure. So first thing in my mind is I got a problem with my solar panels. Now the problem with this error is once it happens, it turns off all 4 solar panel inputs. It turns off all 4. It doesn't tell you which one it is. So the first thing I did was I turned off arrays 3 and 4. I still got the problem. So then I switched it. I tried to run arrays 3 and 4, and I turned off 1 and 2, and then the problem went away. So I knew that the problem was with either array 1 or 2. So what I did next is I disconnected those arrays, and all of my solar panels from I have 3 different solar panel or solar power systems. They all come into this room. So I was able to disconnect arrays 1 and 2, and I wired those over to my 12K PV, turned on the arc fault detection, and it worked perfectly fine on that inverter. Like, there was no problem with the solar panels whatsoever. So the next thing I did is I decided, well, let's take this good solar array that was running on array number 3, was running just fine on here. So I took it and I moved it over to array number 2, instantaneously started getting problems. So I put it back on array number 3, worked fine. I put it back to array number 1 to try it out. Same deal. I kept on getting constant arc fault errors. And the way that works is it gets an arc fault, it shuts it down for like 3 minutes, and then it attempts to do it again. And it takes about 30 seconds or so, and then it'll go back into fault. So I had alarms every 3 minutes for like 7 days. So after taking what I knew was a good array that was working on input number 3, and that one didn't work on 1 and 2, I had determined it's actually not a solar panel problem, because the solar panels work fine on other charge controllers. But for some reason you can't get one that works fine on inputs 1 and 2. So I ended up calling up EP Cube. They've got a number in the app. You can call them, you can get somebody on the phone within a couple minutes. And I explained the whole troubleshooting problem to them. And when I did that, they could see the data on the screen. They could see that input number 2 would come on for just a second and then error out. Input number 1 would just error out. But when I hooked it up to number 3, they could see that it would work. I also hooked it up to number 4, and it worked just fine. So they could see my troubleshooting, and they agreed that that's a problem they've never seen before, and that they ended up, we're going to send me out a new inverter. And I think it took about 10 days, maybe a week to 10 days to get the new inverter, and that's what we're going to be replacing. So the first thing we need to do to replace this is we really need to power everything down, make it safe so that we can unwire these 2 conduits right here and pull out the solar panel and the power wiring, communication wiring, get that all out of there. Now when I set up my system, I put in a bypass right here. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to bypass the solar power system. We're going to go straight to the grid. And I'm going to try to do this fast enough that I don't blip anything too much. Alright, so now this panel and my house are straight to the grid. And the other thing that I need to do is I need to turn off this breaker here. This is 100 amps coming in to the EP Cube system. So I'll open this up. Well, first I probably need to power this all down. Let's do that first. So I'm going to turn off the power button for the inverter. I'll also turn off the solar panel disconnects. And then now there's a power button underneath the gateway here. And that should power this all down. There it went. And now I'll go ahead and I'll turn off the grid to it. Now before we do anything else, we need to do some voltage checks and we need to verify that this is completely safe. Hopefully you can hear me better now. I forgot to put my microphone on. So we're going to do a quick voltage check here. So I know a lot of people have like these little voltage alert deals that you can put up here. These do not replace a multimeter. Okay, you can get a lot of false readings with these. They are nice to have handy for a quick check, but we're just going to go ahead and use a real meter. All right, so we'll check our incoming power. Nothing there. We'll check at the ground, check at the neutral. And then what we're going to do is we're going to check our outgoing power to make sure we're not having somehow power backfeed into the system. This is a disconnect. It's probably opened up. So these probably aren't connected, so definitely need to check both sides of the circuit. And nothing. And then this right here, this is power from the inverter itself. And we'll just double check it as well. So it doesn't look like we have any AC power. We don't have it coming from the grid. We don't have it backfeeding into here. We don't have it from the inverter. But that's not the only voltage we need to check. One other thing we need to turn off is this fuse right here. This is actually the battery fuse. And this is a high voltage solar backup system. This isn't a 48 volt system. These batteries stack up in series, and this is about 250 volts worth of DC batteries. So we need to disconnect this fuse right here. And we'll just go ahead, we'll just take it out. All right, and the next thing, and I will switch my meter over to DC voltage. We're going to verify that we don't have any voltage on our solar panels, which they should have turned off with their shutdown modules. All right, so these push-in terminal blocks here, they're really hard to test. I couldn't get any voltage reading on there. So I do have a junction box down here. I tested my voltages and everything's dead. I'm only reading 4 volts. DC on the solar panels. So that's safe voltage. We should be able to go ahead and disconnect this. One more thing I do want to do is that there is the battery, this system plugs into the battery over in this corner, and I'm just going to go ahead and unplug that battery so it's completely disconnected. It's this little plug-in right here. We're just going to, if we can work it up. And there we go. We are unplugged. I always like to take photos of stuff before I tear it apart. That way I've got something to reference. So this top terminal block, this is the communication between the gateway and the inverter. You just push in terminals. Now one other thing, you see there's this resistor right here, right? This is the termination resistor. It has to be on the last inverter, and since we only have one, that's why it is in here. We'll have to put that in the next one. And we got line 1, neutral, and line 2. Down here is our solar panel wiring, and I've already got it labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. So easy to go back. If these weren't labeled, we'd need to label them. So buried in the back is the ground bar back here. Last wire. There we go. All right. First conduit's out. All right, second conduit's out. So if you got 6 stack of batteries, you definitely have to have some kind of ladder or work platform to be able to install the inverter. It's just too high up here. All right, there we go. This is like, I think it's close to 80 pounds, 70 some pounds, I think. Not light necessarily. So here's the box with the new inverter. Of course, I don't need any of the mounting hardware. Good thing this ladder is rated for 300 pounds. Try to set the left-hand side down and then place the right-hand side down over the battery connector. Well, definitely went in easier than it came out. All right, I got all the wires landed, so now I'm just gonna pull on every one of them. Just gonna make sure that nothing pulls out. Make sure they're all in there tight. So now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna open this fuse up. I'm going to plug in the battery. It's backwards, actually. It's interesting. It actually needs to turn 180. There we go. There, plugged in. So everything's wired up now. I think I'm ready to go ahead and power this up. So I think the first thing to do, we'll throw the battery fuse in. We'll go ahead and turn on the grid power. You have to have grid power to start this up from being completely dead. It won't start up off the batteries the first time. So power up the gateway. Go ahead and power up the inverter. Oh, the inverter doesn't seem to be powering up. So I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to get the system to boot up. So it took longer than I thought it would for the gateway to finally close this disconnect. And once it closes it, it energizes this bus bar, back feeds power to the inverter, and then the inverter was able to boot up. So the problem is, I turned it on the side, and things just didn't end up jiving for some reason, and ended up having some errors. I tried to reconfigure the hybrid converter using the app, and it errors out on me every time. So I had to end up calling customer service, and I ended up talking to the same guy that I talked to when the inverter was bad. So he remembered me, and for some reason, the firmware in here, the DC side of the firmware did not update. And I don't know if that's from me turning things on and off, if I was moving too quickly. I don't know if it's something I caused or what. So he has forced it to update the DC firmware. The AC side of this, I guess the firmware was fine. So he's supposed to call me back here in 15 minutes once the firmware is updated, and hopefully we can get this all powered up and working. So I just got back off the phone with customer service, and all the firmware is updated now. So ended up booting up the inverter first, waited 20 seconds, and then we powered up the gateway. Everything seems to be operating fine now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some testing and just verify that. So there's no load on this system. Okay, right now there is battery, there is solar power coming in. It's just charging the battery, there's no load. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a quick grid loss test without any load. Alright, I'm going across L1, L2, reading 251 volts. I'm going to kill the grid. And it leveled out at 240 volts. Of course, that's what the inverter will do. If it's off grid, it runs at 240, but my grid power is a little high. So when I turned off the grid, it seemed like it reacted the way it was supposed to. Took about 5 minutes to switch back to the grid, 4 to 5 minutes. So my biggest problem with this inverter has been when I do have a power outage, there's usually a pretty good blip. Usually in the seconds, a few seconds to get it to flip over, which means it blips all the stuff in my house, the Wi-Fi, the satellite, Starlink and everything. So I want to test it again with a load. So right now we've got 3 kilowatts worth of solar coming in, and it is charging the batteries. The battery's at 41%. So first thing I need to do is switch this back on solar power to the house. So here we go. Alright. So right now the house, my wife's doing laundry, it's running somewhere around, I don't know, 1400 watts, and then it'll jump up to like 6000 watts because the dryer's going. And as that heating element in the dryer kicks in, it's definitely pulling some wattage. So we're going to kill the grid, see how smooth the transfer is. That was way better than my past inverter, that is for sure. Well, I still have a few things to clean up in here, a few covers to put on, but the EP Cube inverter is replaced, appears to be working the way it's supposed to, and from our initial tests it seems to switch. I think it switches faster than my last one, so I got high hopes for this one, and time will tell, right? So I think it's too bad that we weren't able to get this back up and running without having to call customer service. And I'm not sure if I did something in my boot up sequence to cause that firmware not to update. But the good thing is customer service, I think it's like 2 to 3 minutes. I usually can get them on the phone, and you're talking to a person. It's not like some automated service where you're trying to navigate this huge menu system before you can talk to somebody. At least you're talking to somebody quickly. So that is a good thing. And the only thing left I have to do now is I have to package up the old inverter. I'm going to put it back in the box it came in, get it all packed up nice and neat. They did send me a return label, and they'll ship it back to them. I'm sure they'll do some testing on that to see if they can figure out exactly what went wrong with that inverter. But at least it's replaced. Didn't cost me a dime, just a little bit of time to get it replaced. So this does have a 10-year warranty, and they were really good about honoring it and sending it to me. So I think I talked to them on the phone maybe 15 minutes to explain everything, and they were going to ship me a brand new inverter. So I do think that the customer service with the EP Cube system is good. So, but anyway, guys, time will tell how this performs, but I think that's it for this video. So I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.